For this installation video, we're going to demonstrate how to install a 3.0.3 door. If you've not built the frame yet, see the KD frame build video before continuing. Due to the variety of styles of these doors, you will need to go off the hardware placement and panel numbering sheet provided for you in your hardware box. Using the supplied QC checklist, confirm you have all the hardware necessary to complete your install. Verify if your header is a solid beam or if it has any furring strips. If it has furring strips, straps are necessary in order to support the weight of the door. Install your frame into your opening, making sure it's level, square, and plumb. It's very important to make sure the header of the frame is crowned to the appropriate height. The guidelines for crowning are 8 to 10 feet equals 1/16, 10 to 12 feet equals 1/8, 12 feet or larger equals 3/16. Measure jamb height. Then measure center with crown added to jamb height. Once the frame has been installed and every pre-drilled hole secured with the screws provided, you will want to install the stacking side Euro cap. Pinch the corners to get it started and snapping it into place. The following steps are necessary before you begin the installation of the panels. For all types of carrier sets, intermediate and directional. Back the set screw out 3/16. Adjust the post to where the leaf is 1/2 inch from the top. That's 8 turns from bottomed out. The pivot hardware comes with the top pivot facing one way and the bottom pivot facing the opposite way. You will need to determine the direction of your door and flip the direction of one or the other. Here's how. Bottom pivot. Unscrew the adjustment screw and swap to the other side of the post. Top pivot. Remove the top set screw. Unscrew the main post. Flip the leaf. Screw the main post back in. Put the set screw back in, making sure it is backed off 3/16 from the top of the post. Adjust the post to where the leaf is 1/2 inch from the top. That's 8 turns from bottomed out. The first set of hardware we need to install in the frames is the intermediate carrier set. Next, we want to install the top pivot. Use the adjustment screw to move the post's housing away from the back of the block, about 1/4 inch if it hasn't been shipped that way from the factory. Slide the metal plate down. Insert the front end into the routed hole and set the block back into the track. Slide the metal plate back into its proper place and line the block up with the holes in the header. Use the 4 screws provided in the bag with the button plug and secure the pivot block into place. Make sure it is seated correctly in the track, sitting flat in the track, and the post is straight up and down from face view and side view. For the bottom pivot, set the bigger pivot block into the track. Pre-drill both holes with a 9/64 bit. Fill the hole with the provided SM5555 caulking. Using the silver panhead screw provided in the bag with the block, screw the block into place by securing the one hole closest to the jamb only. Snap the smaller portion of the pivot block over the head of the adjustment screw, then slide it into the main pivot block. Use the same type of pan head screw, which is in the bag that had the button plug and 4 top block pivot screws. Secure the bottom pivot in place. You will need your hardware placement sheet for installing the panels. This will guide you on the placement of each box of hardware. Keep in mind, your panels are numbered left to right. This does not indicate the order the panels are to be installed. For instance, on a 3.0.3 door, the first panel installed will be the number 3 panel. On a 3.3.0 door, the first panel installed will be the number 1 panel. Determine the direction of your door and apply the button on the top of the pivot's bottom leaf. And screw the leaf to the first panel to be installed. To make installation easier, it is suggested to use some sort of shimming material, roughly 5/8 of an inch thick, to lay on the threshold for your panels to rest on. Slide the first panel onto the bottom pivot post and rest it on the shim. Screw the top leaf to the panel. Mount the offset hinges on the first installed panel. Follow instructions for the correct hinge parts and where they should be placed. Set the second panel to be installed face to face with the first panel. Mirror the panels, interior to interior. Screw that panel to the offset hinges. Attach the carrier set to that panel and install the other hinges from the intermediate carrier box. Install the last panel. Remember, mirror the panels, exterior to exterior. With all the panels set, shut the door completely and look at all of your reveals and adjust as needed. An Allen wrench is supplied to adjust the heights. Up and down adjustments are located on all carriers and pivots. To access your side-to-side adjustments, you will need to open the door. They are located at the front ends of the top and bottom pivot. Use a Phillips hand screwdriver to adjust. Now, install your handle hardware. It is important to make sure your 2-piece spindle is positioned properly for the handle set screws. Mount your hardware plates and handle. To set your keepers, shut the door and engage the entire locking bar. Mark where each locking point engages into the frame, 2 hook locks and deadbolt. Line up the hook keepers with your lines and pre-drill both holes with a 9/64 bit. Lay your main strike on the jamb so you can see your lines centered in the deadbolt hole. Trace a line on the top of the plate as a reference for the height. Slide the plate back so the holes are flush with the routered out vinyl. While lined up with the line at the top of the plate, pre-drill and screw on the strike plate. Now, test your lock to make sure all points engage properly. To install your strike side caps, you will need to back out all the screws on all the strike plates. Lay your Euro cap in the jamb and mark where each screw is at. Cut the cap, tossing out the scrap pieces. Pinch the corners of the cap and slide it behind the keeper, snapping them into place and securing the keepers. To install magnets, use a speed square to draw a line down the glass edge. Do the same with the opposite end of the next panel. With the sloped portion of the magnet housing on top, insert the springs and magnet in the housing. Line it up with your line and 1/4 inch from the bottom and pre-drill holes. Slide over the metal cover. That's it. If you have questions, get them answered before you begin.